Good morning. My name is Jane. Our service leader today is Niki Norman. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Saco in Biddeford. We also want to welcome those joining us on YouTube and encourage those of you at home to have a candle or chalice to light when we light ours later. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, we are glad that you are here with us today. The theme for the month of December is wonder. We invite you to carry that theme with you for the rest of the day and into your daily life when you leave. We strive to be a green sanctuary. It gives roots and wings to our vision of a world where all people build toward a sustainable future and make reverence, gratitude, and care for the living earth central to their lives. We want to acknowledge that our building sits on the land of the Wabanaki Confederation. That includes the Abenaki, Maliseet, Micmac, Passamaquoddy, and Penobscot nations. We invite you to take home the order of service for information and announcements, or you may leave it for recycling as you exit the sanctuary. Our current COVID guidelines are on the back page. There will be a social hour in the parish hall after the service. Please join us.
Can you hear me? Yes. All right, I'm using the lapel mic today. And before I begin, I want to extend a huge vote of thanks to Alyssa, who is standing in for Trevor today. And she hadn't planned to stay for the service, but she is staying for the service. Very much appreciated. This is In the Spirit of Searching by Reverend Joan Javier Duval, and she is currently a UU minister in Montpelier. Out of depths unknown, the spark of life ignites, and we are born. We enter a world, a universe not of our making. Our lives unfold in mystery and wonder. Questions abound for which there are no definite answers. And so we gather in community to seek in one another assurance, recognition, compassion, and strength. We gather in community to be reminded of what is most ultimate and what is most sacred in this spirit of searching and of reverence. Let us worship together this morning. And I'd like to invite you now to stand and greet the people around you. This is one of my favorite things here. Whoops.
Ripping your song.
I am.
Good morning.
Is it still working? Yes. What I need is a pocket.
If you would join me in the reading of our covenant, it's in your order of service. This is our sacred promise, to gather together in peace, to seek truth in love, to serve human need, so that all shall grow in harmony with the divine.
Thank you, Tom. That was gorgeous. And kind of really sets the mood for today. So I'd like to invite you to stand and join me in the chalice, reading the chalice lighting. You'll find it in your order of service. And then remain standing for our first hymn, number 241. This is The Wonder All Around Us by Scott Taylor. I really like this one. Look, friends, to the sky, to the stars that dance like fireworks overhead this tiny globe on which we travel. Look to the horizon, the tree line, the expanse of wide open fields, to this breathing earth that makes our living and breathing possible. Look at the faces that surround you and notice what a wonder it is we don't have to walk this world alone. All of it is miracle. All of it deserves our awe. May this light we now kindle and this time we share illuminate the astonishing preciousness of it all. Seated.
This is the time in our service when we invite you to come forward and share whatever may be in your heart, be it a great joy, be it a deep sorrow. It is not a time for political announcements or general announcements. Tell us who you are if you choose to do so. Light a candle. And if you want to share, please do. If you prefer not to, that is your choice. So please join me up here.
Hi, my name is Pat Snyder, and this week I had the joy of visiting someone, quite unexpectedly, but at their home, and that was Ruby. It's better. That was Ruby I saw this week, unexpectedly at her home. Are some of you familiar with Ruby? Okay. It's having kind of a hard go of it. Claude is in the VA home in Scarborough. And she seems to be lonely. I'm sure of that. She would really welcome cards or, why can't I get this right? Cards or visits. She fell and hurt her head, but somehow it damaged her eye, and so she can't drive anymore. But she went this week for some surgery, but she said it wasn't to correct the vision. It was to correct something else that was going on. So I really felt kind of bad for her. So if any of you could send her a card or slip by or just give her a phone call, I know she'd love that.
Hi. I stand up to say thank you to Pat for letting us know that. I would never have known it. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Lori, and I missed last week because I was celebrating my daughter's 18th birthday with her to a place she really, really wanted to go, and I was like, I don't know if I want to go. Any of you know the Conjuring movies? It's a horror series. I have never watched it, never planned to, but she loves it. We went to the house that originally started the whole thing, and it was so cool. It was built in 1635. So she got her supernatural fun stuff going on, and I got my historic fun stuff going on, and it was amazing.
We know there are sorrows and joys that remain unspoken. We light one last candle in recognition of them. We ask you to carry in your hearts what you've heard here today as you go forward into the week.
Lori, you're getting your exercise today. Today is the fourth Sunday of Advent, and Lori has some words for us about peace, and then she'll light the peace candle. No.
Good morning. When I was in high school, I was part of a winter backpacking program. Oh, no? How about now? Kind of got to eat it. In high school, I was part of a winter backpacking program that was way up in the White Mountains. And as part of the program, we took turns nursing our tiny fire through the night. My shift started at 2 a.m. Stepping out of the tent into the winter woods lit up by the full moon, I was hit with a deep sense of awe. At that same moment, just 100 miles away, my father lay in a hospital bed, wondering whether he'd ever walk again. He did. He was good. I didn't know that. However, There I was, held by the sacred hush in the woods. Everywhere I looked, the snow was being held by the evergreens and blanketing the ground. It sparkled like a million tiny, exquisite diamonds. And I can still see like the little rainbows that I could see in all that incredible sparkling. And a profound sense of peace just settled in my being, and the fear that had been my constant companion evaporated as I let myself be fully immersed in the moment. I can still reach back and draw on that mystical experience, that peace that passes understanding. And hopefully each of us has had moments of sublime peace that we can call upon to regain our balance along our often challenging journey of life. So to modify a favorite quote of mine, may I be the peace I wish to see in the world.
Thank you, Lori. I've got a story for all ages here that I think you'll appreciate. And then the next couple of items in the order of service, we're going to do the Winter Night hymn right after the reading. So I'll ask you to stand when I'm finished with the story for all ages. And as you know, I like to sit on the stairs and invite any children of any age who would like to come up and join me on the stairs. You're very welcome. Today's book really does keep, I think, in the theme of wonder. It's called The Lights That Dance in the Night. Have you ever seen the Northern Lights? Once when I was a little kid, I saw them, and I've never forgotten. That seemed like, and still seems to me like pure magic. So, we are the lights that dance in the night. We started our journey as specks of dust blown to earth from the sun. We tumbled through clouds, through winds, through snowstorms too, staying strong, keeping together. We found a path through wintry weather. And then we changed as in a dream. Through streams of air we shone. We gleamed. We knew what we were meant to be. We are the lights that dance in the night. And I'm going to show this one picture. Can you see that? I hope people can see that. The illustrations in this book are just beautiful, beautiful. Our colors brought joy to polar bears and happiness to Arctic hares. Flippers clapped to see us swirl, and bright bills touched with every twirl. We sashayed for an Arctic fox. We swayed above an old musk ox. Wolf packs howled beneath our glow, and wildcats played on painted snow. I love that line. We lit the skies for forest birds. We sparkled over rainbow herds. Storytellers wove our lights into tales for long, dark nights. People stopped to stand and stare, to feel the magic in the air. Young and old, big and small, joined together, one and all. Across this sweep of land and sea, they raised their voices cheerfully. Through clouds and winds and storms we came, illuminating darkness, keeping hope aflame. A miracle of winter, we are the lights. We are the lights that dance in the night. And now, please stand as you are willing and able and join us in singing hymn number 256.
This morning's reading is by J. Wolin. It's entitled Nourished. When I look up into the night sky, I am in awe of all that is. There, in a faraway galaxy, a star has died, yet it is still bright for my eyes to see and make a wish upon. When I walk in the ocean, I feel the waves rush across my feet, and I feel a certain peace with the world. I peer out onto the endless horizon, knowing they came from a place beyond where I can see. When I sit around the fire, I feel its warmth enter me without ever touching me, and I feel safe from the unknown. Wherever I am, I take in a breath, and I know I am in the present moment. All of these wonders that move us and make us feel alive and make us dream and make us wonder, let us protect them so that my children, our children, everyone's children, my grandchildren, our grandchildren, everyone's grandchildren, for generations upon generations will also have the chance to look beyond the horizon and marvel at the wonder of existence and continue to be nourished by our home, the earth.
There, you can hear me? Excellent. Great job, Alyssa. Thanks again. We could not have done it without you. So, our theme, as you know, for the month of December is wonder. And I wondered, as I was wandering around, how I would address that. And I started doing some research, and there are a lot of sermons out there, a lot of poems out there, a lot of ways that people are expressing how they find wonder and gratitude and are delighted by the little synchronicities that occur in our lives. Some of them are large and some are small. And I'll be talking about a couple of those, maybe three, and I know there are people in here that have heard at least one, maybe all three stories, so thank you for your indulgence. I appreciate that very much. Back in 2018, I was beginning to think about my retirement, which I was hoping would be in 2020 or 2021. And I was able to retire in 2020. But the important thing in 2018 was feeling the calling that I felt to attend Chime, to get ordained, and to begin moving in a different way in the world, a different way in my life. And my experience at Chime, one of the things that happened with me was I became aware, really, of these synchronicities that had occurred in my life. And I also, as I was reflecting on these and thinking of the best way that I could express this, the thing that came to me, the word that came to me over and over again was delight. And I think when these unexpected, unexplained things happen in our lives, I think delighting in them, helps us make sure that we're staying open to the possibility of them happening. So I had a number of conversations with our interim minister, Steve Cook, talked with Myra a little bit about Chime, and the next thing I knew, I was enrolled. And our very first weekend workshop came up, and they announced we were going to be doing an art project, and my heart sank. As this is not my forte by any stretch, and I thought, what on earth, how am I going to deal with this? And I talked with the woman who was the art instructor, and she said, well, get used to it because we do quite a bit of this at Chime. And she said, my advice to you is just dive in and do it. Dive in and do it, see what happens. So I did, and it was intimidating, and I was constantly comparing myself to the other people who, some of them were artists, and did some really beautiful work. But as I progressed through Chime, I got better at it. I didn't necessarily produce art that was any more beautiful, but I got better at expressing myself with it, and I found that by being open to it, being kind of delighted by the results, even if they weren't particularly beautiful, I was moving ahead. And so fast forward, many months later and many art projects later, we were asked to choose a senior project. And believe me, no one was more surprised than I was that I picked an art project. So I wanted it to, I had a vision of working with stained glass. I had a vision of a river, and where I could put icons that spoke to some of these synchronicities, some not huge, some fairly huge in my life. And I had gone to a concert, and I was talking to a friend afterwards at a reception, and I told her what I wanted to do, and she said, well, do you know anything about stained glass? And I said, no. And she said, well, what is your plan? And I said, well, my plan is to find a teacher and see if I can get someone to help me with this project. And she said, well, if you're interested in a stained glass mosaic, she said, I'm getting goosebumps here. She said, I just took a mosaic course, a 2-week course in Chicago, And if you would like to come to my studio to do your project, I would be happy to show you what I've learned. And I did bring the project with me. And I think those in the back won't be able to see it probably, but it is a mosaic that I did in stained glass. And it's got the river, it's got, you want to walk it around? It's heavy. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me talk. Okay, there it is. Yeah, feel free to do that if you like. If you're comfortable. If you're comfortable. Well, one of the first things you'll see is a sailboat. Actually, the first thing you'll see is the swirl at the bottom. And the swirl at the bottom is the ether out of which our life comes. And I'll tell you, doing that spiral at the bottom was the most challenging part of the piece, but it was also the most rewarding. And my instructor laughed and said, the Romans and the Byzantines had trouble with spirals too. You're in good company. So I wanted to start with a sailboat, as I had some sailing experiences in Oregon that really changed my life. And I was trying to figure out how I was going to depict a little sailboat. Well, Ann Dobson had given me some stained glass from back when she was a stained glass artist. And one night I was putting the glass away, I closed the box and I heard something break. I thought, oh shoot. So I opened it up and inside are two little sails, just perfect. If there are any sailors in the crowd, you'll notice that I should have done it the other way because it looks like the sailboat's about to go aground. But for the people at home, there we go. So the next one that you see there is a little depiction of New York City. I had been living in Arizona, and the company I worked for went bankrupt. And most people were very sad about that. I was delighted because I like Arizona, but it's no place for a northerner to live full time. So I was glad for the opportunity to move back north. And so I took my little bit of severance money and I flew up to Oregon. My old boyfriend picked me up at the airport. And he said, I've got to go back to my office and finish some things. This office is where he and I had met several years earlier. He said, why don't I finish my work and you just go out and say hi to everybody, because a number of people that I had worked with were still there. So I was chatting with one woman and she said, what are your plans now? What are you going to do? And I said, well, I think I'm going to move to the East Coast. And she said, why the East Coast? And I said, well, just kind of a sense of adventure. And she said, where do you want to go? And I said, well, I don't know. It's just really a germ of an idea. And she said, well, wait here. So she disappeared. She came back with a business card with a date and time on it. And she said, we have an opening in our New York sales office. You have an interview tomorrow morning at 10 if you want it. So my mother and I went out to Nordstrom and I bought a suit and I bought 2 blouses in case I had 2 interviews, which I did. I went back the next day, had a wonderful, really fun interview, and the woman I interviewed with said, now I need to ask you to go up to the 9th floor and talk with John LaFrenz. Well, John LaFrenz was a VP. The 9th floor was the Ivory Tower, and I had never been up there. So I went up, and here's John behind his desk, and behind him is a picture window and a gorgeous, gorgeous view. And he looked very stern. And he said, I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want you to waste my time. And I'm thinking, oh, great. I said, well, no, I agree with that. He leaned forward and said, you want to go to New York? And we both laughed quite heartily and ended up having a really, really wonderful, really a wonderful conversation. And I kind of took it on faith. I had a feeling I was going to get the job, so my mother and I flew down to Arizona. We packed all my things into my car, my cats, my cello, and my clothes, and we drove back up to Oregon. And the day I got back to Oregon, I found out that I got the job. And that's probably the biggest synchronicity that's occurred in my life. And I think had it not unfolded exactly the way it did, I might not have had the nerve to do it. But I did it. And I'm glad I did it. I loved New York. I still love New York. And when I was transferred up here, I fell in love with Maine too. So maybe that's a nice synchronous thing as well. Well, the other one that I wanted to share was, and I know that Anne has heard this story at least twice. When I first moved here, I wanted to try some alternative therapy, something beyond just Western medicine. So I made my first appointment with a chiropractor. And I was a little nervous about it. I thought, I'm not really sure I want to do this, but I walked up to the chiropractor's office, and there on the ground, right next to her front stairs, was a little blue marble. Well, I collect marbles, so I thought, that's interesting, and I picked that up, put it in my pocket. Had a very nice conversation and a nice relationship with the chiropractor. Well, then about maybe a month later, I had an appointment to see a naturopath. And I didn't really know too much about naturopathy, and I was a little nervous about that too. And I'm not kidding. I walked up to the naturopath's office, and there lying on the sidewalk was a little green marble. So I picked it up and put it in my pocket, saying, are you trying to tell me something? So about 6 weeks later, I was going for my very first meeting of a women's therapy group, and I was really nervous about this. I had never done anything like that in my life. I sat in the car for a few minutes and thought about it. I got out of the car and looked down, and right next to the driver's side front wheel was a blue and green marble. And I picked it up and I put it in my pocket. And 2 of the marbles in the mosaic are original. One I gave away to a friend who needed it. But there they are. And it got to the point where if I was looking for confirmation about something, I would look for a marble. But I never found another one until this summer. I was over at my community garden on King Street, and I was sitting there just enjoying the warmth of the sun, and I was turning over the soil and just feeling very clear about everything. And I pulled up a scoop, and I thought, what on earth is that? There in the shovel was a little clear marble, which I picked up and put in my pocket, and I have it still. Well, and I remember doing a lot of meditating about these synchronicities and how these things work. And when I was at Chime, the conclusion I came to, and some of this is from the Buddhist tradition, is you can't make these things happen, but you can be open to these things happening. And I want to share some words from the same Reverend Joan Javier Duval, whose words we read earlier. And these really spoke to me, so I chose a few of these things. Reverend Jones says, the vision, the planning, and the attention to detail, the breadth of our human abilities and our capacity to dream and envision and create is truly a thing of wonder. The natural world, of course, is filled with wonders, and in her book, Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, Annie Dillard shares an experience after experience of natural wonder, like her experience of witnessing a 4-story descent of a mockingbird. In summing up her story about the mockingbird, she writes, the fact of his free fall was like the old philosophical conundrum about the tree that falls in the forest. The answer must be, I think, that beauty and grace are performed whether or not we will sense them. The least we can do is try to be there, and I love that line. Whether it's in the natural world or in our built environment or in our human interactions with each other, beauty and grace are performed whether we will them or sense them. The least we can do is try to be there. And that's what I'm talking about. Try to be there by being open to the possibilities of things happening. And I find that sitting quietly in a daily meditation, which is how I start every day now, helps make this possible. It's so natural to want to witness the beautiful and the mysterious around us, to bear witness, to be there, to be present for the beauty and grace that's performed, whether or not we'll sense them. But again, I agree with Reverend Joan here that openness is at the heart of our attentiveness. Openness to accept the world and what the world has to offer for what it is. Having our hearts broken open when what we witness is painful and tragic, but also having our hearts mended and made whole when what we witness is beautiful and inspiring. In affirming our capacity to wonder, we're affirming our capacity to stay open and attentive no matter what life brings us, and especially in those moments of grace when the good just might show up unbidden, as it has in my life so many times. When a mockingbird might fall with flourish through the empty air, or when humanity delights you, there's that word again, delights you with its creative genius. In our lives, we're constantly presented with moments when beauty and grace are performed, and the question is, will we be there? Can we attune ourselves enough to witness the wonder? As we head into the winter months, I hope that you will find a way to tend your own spirit, to witness and to wonder. I know that my own ability to be there, to be present, to stand ready to witness when my mind is too full of tasks to accomplish, it's much more challenging. So give yourself space for what Reverend Joan calls Holy Sabbath. Even if your day-to-day routine will maintain its usual rhythms, you might consider how you can allow yourself some Sabbath moments. It's often in these times that we are the most able to be attentive and to witness the wonder around us. As the covenant of our UUA states, it is direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder that moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces that create and uphold life. May you find a renewal and replenishment of your spirit in these coming months. Be delighted. Be amazed. Blessed be, and amen. And now I'd like to invite you to sit quietly, and I'd like to read a meditation, and then I'd like to spend just a few minutes just letting these words sink in, just sitting with the words, and then I'll call you back into this place. So find a comfortable spot, take a couple of deep breaths, and again, these words are from Reverend Joan Javier Duval. Spirit of life, mother of all mystery beyond our understanding. Here we are, living, breathing creatures with minds that wonder and hearts that feel awe when we face questions that we know can't be answered and tragedies that we know can't be explained. May we find patience in all that is unanswered and peace in all that will never be explained. Here we are, living, breathing creatures with open minds and tender hearts. May we hold ourselves with gentleness, with all that brings us worry and all that makes our hearts break. May the living, breathing creatures that we are feel the breath of life moving in us and through all things, bringing us into greater union with the mysterious universe of which we are a part. Amen. And welcome back to the present.
When we gather together as a community, we bring the gifts of ourselves, our hearts and spirits, our time and energy, our talents and skills to support the work of this church here within our walls and out in the larger community. We also bring the gift of generosity, giving of what we have so that the work of this church may continue. Half of our offering today will be sent out into the larger community to support the work of the Main Way this month. If you are watching from home, donations may be made through the Give button at the top of our web page, uuchurchsacobiddeford.com, or checks may be mailed to UUCSB 60 School Street, Saco. For those of you joining us on YouTube, you may click on the PayPal link in the video description. Please be generous as the ushers wait upon you to collect the offering.
Please remain standing and join me in the words for extinguishing our chalice. As we release this flame from its faithful service today, we allow the spark in each of us to burn on, to warm our compassion, to fire our delight, to light our paths, today, tomorrow, and always. And now join us in our final hymn, number 239, and one of my personal favorites, Go Tell It on the Mountain. Our closing words today are by Mary Oliver. It's a poem that she's written called Mysteries? Yes. Truly, we live with mysteries too marvelous to be understood. How grass can be nourishing in the mouths of lambs. How rivers and stones are forever in allegiance with gravity, while we ourselves dream of rising. How two hands touch and the bonds will never be broken. How people come from delight or the scars of damage to the comfort of a poem. Let me keep my distance always from those who think they have the answers. Let me keep company always with those who say, "Look!" and laugh in astonishment and bow their heads. Go in peace.